Assalamu alaikum, students of IT. I am Razia from BHSS Kupwara. My trade is ITes. Few days back we have started Python programming. We have gone through the introduction part, and then we have gone through the interactive mode and the script mode, how Python works in these two respective modes. Okay. Now today we'll study about variables and data types. As now you may be known about it that a variable is something in which we store some data. That is, it is some we can say it's the data holder which holds our data. Okay. So variable, when we create a program in Python, we often like to store values so that it can be used later. So here we use objects. We use objects to capture the data, and which then can be manipulated by computer to provide this information. Okay. That means whenever we create program in Python or any programming language, we always store values. May be possible that we store value for this fun, that may be possible we may need this data later on, okay, in the program. So we store the data in something, and that thing which we use to store the data is object, and here we use objects to hold our data, and we can also manipulate the data anytime when we want. Okay. We now that means we now have known that object or variable is the same name. Okay, our object or variable, it's the same which can hold our data. Object or variable, it's the same which can hold our data, in which we can store a value or we can store any data. Okay. Now we have every object has three parts. Every object has three parts. Is very important. Every object has three portions. First one is it has an identity. An object, it has an identity. Identity means every object has an ID, and by which ID the object is always known. Okay. Identity, it is the object's address, we can say. It's the object's address, because whenever we store data in some object, so we have to store that object as well. We are storing the data in the object, but we have to store the object as well. The object is stored in the memory, and the memory, it creates a memory address for the object through which it can be accessed, so that we can access the data easily. We can access it whenever we have the proper memory address of the object. Okay. And this memory address, once created for any object, it cannot be changed. When it is once created. Okay. That means object address, it is the address of the memory in which the object is stored, and the object, it has its value. Okay. And then second part is data type. Data type means which type of data the object holds. For example, if we have an object which is integer type, that means the object, it stores integer type data. If the object is floating type object, that means it holds floating point data which has decimal part in it. Okay. If it is character type object, that means it stores character type data. Okay. Okay, is it understood by you? First thing is identity, which is the memory address at which the object is stored, and it is accessed by this memory address always, and once the address is created, it cannot be changed. And then we have second one, that is data type. This data type, it is for example, we can say this data type, it is that type through which can tell us which type of data the object is holding. Okay. It can be it can be what it can be integer type, it can be floating type, it can be character type, etc. Okay, and in Python we have number of data types as well. Okay, we'll go through one by one. We have data types. We have in Python we have number as a data type, we have sequence as a data type, we have sets as a data type, we have mappings as a data type, and in numbers we have its own data types, that is we have integer, floating point, we have complex, and in integer we have another data type, that is boolean, and in sequence we have strings, we have tuples, we have lists, and in case of mappings we have dictionary. Okay, we'll see data types tomorrow. And the third part of the object is that is a value. Every time whenever we create an object, there is always the value associated with the object, which is stored in the object, and for which the object is assessed. We assess the object so as to fetch the data which is stored in the object. Okay, it's all about today. Tomorrow we'll start with